Asian markets marginally higher while U.S. futures trade flat as investors digest the details of Joe Biden's stimulus plan. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden unveils details of a $1.9 trillion coronavirus package. The proposal, titled the American Rescue Plan, includes increasing additional federal employment payments to $400 per week, direct payments of $1,400 to many Americans, and extending the federal moratoriums of evictions and foreclosures. Even as major countries around the world start their vaccination programs, the COVID-19 pandemic shows no signs of abating. With almost 750,000 new cases and over 15,000 reported deaths in the last 24 hours, the global death toll has now crossed the 20 lakh mark. With 1 day to go for India's nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive to kick off, the government postpones polio vaccination day to the 31st of January. Around 3 lakh healthcare and frontline workers are expected to receive the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine across 3,000 centers on day one. And Bharat Biotech says there will be clarity on protocols regarding the clinical trial mode approval made by Covaxin for today. They also defend the pricing to the supply for government, adding that the vaccine development was not subsidized in any form. Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are all of the headlines that we're tracking this morning. So like you're seeing, it's looking like quite a tepid global picture. So US also ended marginally in the red. All of the Asian markets are up for you and it's not looking like a great start. Nikkei is down around 70 points as we speak. Shanghai is one of the indices which is actually managing to hold up in the green. It's just around 15 points higher. So no big moves there as well. Hang Seng again has slipped into the red, so it is 70 points lower as we speak. All of the other markets are also up for you. It's looking slightly better here. Taiwan is 130 points higher as we speak. Straits just about managing to trade in the green, and the Kospi is around 50 points lower. Take a look at the SGX Nifty also, because that again is indicating that the start for our own markets might actually be in the red. The SGX Nifty is showing 61 points lower as we speak. Now that's all of the market action from Asia, but let's also talk about the US markets then. We saw Wall Street end lower in yesterday's session, so the Dow lost around 70 points at the close. S&P and the Nasdaq were both down around 15 points when we closed the session. CNBC's Rahil Solomon is standing by to take us through all of that action.
U.S. stocks finishing lower on Wall Street, the Dow losing 68 points, the S&P down 14, and the Nasdaq dropping 16. First-time jobless claims surging to the highest weekly total since August, as nearly 1 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. The 965,000 claims was worse than the 800,000 claims that Wall Street was expecting. The report comes amid signs of a slowdown in hiring due to pandemic restrictions. The total number of people receiving benefits fell to 18.4 million. That is still well above pre-pandemic levels. Shares of pet care retailer Petco jumping more than 60% in its return to the public market, hitting the Nasdaq under ticker symbol WOOF. Meanwhile, shares of online clothing reseller Poshmark also making its public market debut on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol POSH. That stock surging more than 130%. And Delta posting a record net loss of more than $12 billion in 2020. That's the airline's first annual loss since 2009. And it comes as the coronavirus pandemic really devastated travel demand. But Delta's cash burn in the fourth quarter was down by half from the third quarter. And the airline does expect to be profitable this summer. That's the action from the U.S. market. I'll send it back to you in Mumbai.
All right, Rahil, thanks a lot for getting us all of those details. But staying with the U.S. then, President-elect Joe Biden has announced details of a $1.9 trillion much-awaited COVID-19 rescue package just a while ago. Now, the proposal, titled the American Rescue Plan, includes familiar stimulus measures with the goal of sustaining families as well as firms until vaccines can be widely distributed across the country. Now, the plan is the first of two major spending initiatives that Biden will seek in his first few months of presidency. According to senior officials, the second bill is expected in February and will tackle the president-elect's longer goals of creating jobs, reforming infrastructure, combating climate change, and advancing racial equity. Okay, let's also actually listen in to the incoming President Joe Biden on what he had to say about the rescue plan.
There is real pain overwhelming the real economy. One where people rely on paychecks, not their investments, to pay for their bills and their meals and their children's needs. We cannot afford inaction. It's not just that smart fiscal investments, including deficit spending, are more urgent than ever. It's that the return on these investments in jobs, racial equity, will prevent long-term economic damage, and the benefits will surpass the cost. We must act now and act decisively. My fellow Americans, the decisions we make in the next few weeks and months are going to determine whether we thrive in a way that benefits all Americans, or whether we stay stuck in a place where those at the top do great, while economic growth for most everyone else is just a spectator sport, and where American prospects dim, not brighten. These investments will determine whether we reassert American leadership and outcompete our competitors in the global economy. We're better equipped to do this than any nation in the world.
All right, you just heard President-elect Joe Biden on the rescue plan. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve Chairman also weighed in with his thoughts on the economy. He spoke with CNBC's Steve Leisman and said the time to raise interest is no time soon.
Now is not the time to be talking about exit. I think that another lesson of the global financial crisis is be careful not to exit too early. And by the way, try not to talk about exit all the time if you're not, if you're sending that signal, because the markets are listening. The economy is far from our goals.
That's all of the action from the global picture.